Yo, what's good? Thanks for pulling up to Psosi Studio. I am your host, Psosi, and today we got a very special show. I'm going to be doing my first ever artist interview with a super amazing designer. So, yeah, super excited to share this conversation with you all. And yeah, without further ado, let's get right into the interview. All right, guys, today we have a very special guest on Psosi Studio. She is a graduate of Boston University with a BFA in graphic design. And while at BU, she won the Drawdown Award for Publication Design and was one of the core leaders in organizing and designing our 2023 Boston University BFA thesis show. She is currently a graphic designer for the Los Angeles Chargers and the YouTube Shorts Queen, in my opinion. So, everybody, let's welcome Jacqueline Mang to Psosi Studio.
Hi, yeah, thank you for having me.
No, for sure, for sure. Jacqueline, how are we doing? How are the vibes out in LA?
It's been good. I mean the weather is definitely much better than Boston.
Oh yeah,
But the driving is like horrible.
oh yeah, because like no public transport, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're like improving it for like the Olympics, but
Oh
it's
yeah, but that's
yeah.
not for a couple years, right? You got to deal with it for.
Yeah. So, I don't know if I'll
Okay.
be here for that long, but we'll see.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Forgot you, got you. But yeah, definitely just want to, thank you for making time to hop on and do this interview and everything. And yeah, kind of, want to kind of get right into it and talk about some of your more recent work, and that being your sauce artwork. I don't know if that's what you want to call it, or do you have like a name for, is that just what you call it?
Yeah, I just call it like sauce art.
The sauce art, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, for everybody watching, just go over on a different tab right now, search Sabrina Carpenter sauce art on YouTube, and you'll see one of Jacqueline's like sauce art videos. It's honestly like super cool. And so I just kind of wanted to ask, like, first of all, like, what kind of led you to kind of use sauce as a medium for creating like art and portraiture?
Ooh, so it's kind of a long story, but basically, when I was studying abroad in Venice, this was like our junior year of
Right,
college,
right.
but we had an assignment that was to make a self-portrait of ourselves. So
Okay.
I was really trying to think of like different nicknames or like different memories from my childhood that I can pick up on. And one of the things that my mom told me was that one of like my nicknames was Tomato because when I was born I was like really red. Like my
Oh,
whole head was like bright red.
oh, geez.
So yeah. But yeah, so I was trying to take inspiration from that and like I used ketchup to do like
Oh,
a
okay.
portrait of myself and yeah, I just filmed the process for that and just like use like chopped up tomatoes on it and everything. But I had a really fun time making it. So um, after graduation, well, my thesis was kind of about impermanent materials.
Right,
So
right.
I feel like because I did that whole thesis, I was like, oh yeah, like maybe I can go back to like doing sauce art again because I don't have a job at
Hmm.
the moment.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was just trying to, I didn't want to spend that much money on like different art mediums or like different
Mhm.
materials that I didn't have on hand. So yeah, I feel like it was just a fun activity for me to do and just like film when I had free time. So yeah, that's basically where I started.
Okay. Yeah, I had no idea it started like all the way back in
Oh
Venice because I think
yeah.
the first thing I saw was like the one you did of Taylor Swift with like the sriracha,
Mm.
and I was like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
this is mad cool. And then yeah, then the other one IKEA, I guess was it, or what was the sauce at IKEA? Like what type
Oh
of
yeah.
sauce?
I don't know. I see people in the comments like
Or it was like the leftover. It was just like whatever leftover like stuff.
yeah, it was like the jam or lingonberry or something,
Yeah.
but I remember people would like argue with each other about what it was.
Well, in the comments, were like, nah, it's gotta be
Yeah,
the.
I would
Oh
get
shit.
notifications for that.
Yeah, no, no. So, like, in terms of the different sauce, so obviously we have the ketchup, the sriracha, hoisin sauce, whatever, jam. Is there like a
Mhm.
particular like sauce that's easier to like kind of
Oh
maneuver or
yeah,
work with, or
definitely. My favorite is the hoisin sauce
hoisin
because
sauce?
I feel like it's easier to build on and it feel like it's like so much easier to I don't know, like add more dimension to
Mm,
the
okay.
drawing if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting, interesting.
Yeah.
And then who is like do you have like any plan or like who's kind of like the next like portrait or like person that you kind of want to do a portrait of?
Oh.
If you can reveal that. I don't know if that's like.
hmm Um, Actually, I was planning on doing one today because I haven't done one in a while, but I
Yeah.
was gonna do. Have you watched Severance?
I haven't. That's a show I've been trying to get into. But yeah, I know everyone's talking about it. So yeah, you're gonna
Hmm.
do one of the Severance characters.
Yeah, I'm gonna do
That was
Mark.
Mark. Okay,
Like,
that
have
I
you
don't
seen?
at the moment I don't know who that is because I
Oh,
haven't
okay.
watched. I've only
Thank
seen TikToks, but I haven't seen who the characters are. But that I'm sure that will definitely be a
mhm,
hit for sure.
thank you.
But no,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
that's
recommend it. You should watch it. Let me
no,
know.
yeah. I gotta renew that Apple TV
Oh
subscription.
yeah, or pirate it. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's an option. But yeah, and then I think I'd seen also with like you doing the sauce art. Like, how do you feel like you posting it on social media and everything has kind of been able to like impact your like freelance or like just kind of like your career in general? Because I think you had like you ended up getting like a client out of it, right? With like when I saw you did like a project with like a some sort of like sauce typography.
Um, it was well, the one I guess like client I had was one of my friends from back home, and
Hmm.
he started doing a podcast called I think The Daily Hot Pot. Um,
Okay.
so we just thought it would be fitting to like kind of merge those two things, and it
Mm.
was really cool because I've never worked on like a sauce portrait with someone before, so it
Hmm.
was very like collaborative
Oh,
um
okay.
and I put a lot more like thought into like the planning and like how it would look like. So yeah, we were just thinking about like, oh yeah, this is like the sauce that we would use in like hot pot, or like what colors of the sauce would look good together.
Hmm. Okay, got you. And then, in terms of just like working with like, have you seen anybody else? Like, was there like when you first did it with like the ketchup, had you seen like anybody else kind of work with sauce art? Like, how did you kind of learn about okay, this is kind of how you maybe move the sauce around, or was that just kind of all like experimentation, and then you found out like how to kind of work with the sauce?
Yeah. I think when I first started, like I was like trying to look into like if anyone else has done it. I think I know for sure like other people have done it before. But I
Hmm.
haven't seen it that frequently, but I knew it was like
Right.
a thing, and like since it's like the texture of it is so like similar to paint almost, like I
Right.
feel like I kind of was just like experimenting with a lot of the different ways I can use like different utensils to get different textures. Like I would use forks to do the hair. But yeah, I've been using toothpicks lately because I could get more detail into it.
Right. And I think it's cool how you're still using like kind of tools that are related to food and eating. Like,
Mhm.
obviously using the fork toothpick. It's not like you're taking like a paintbrush and like
Yeah. Oh yeah.
painting on the plate and everything. So I think
Hmm.
that's super dope. And then kind of going off the topic of food, I mean, from what I remember like of you were just really into like cheese and I guess just like food in general. So can you kind of talk about yeah, what kind of like led to your kind of I guess interest in even like with your thesis talking about impermanent obviously food is one of those
Yeah.
things. So like what kind of led to like your interest in like I guess foods and things like that.
I think I've always just loved like painting food or just drawing food
Right.
um when I was in high school. Like I was like trying to come up with pieces like for my portfolio, and when I took like AP studio art, I had to think of like a theme of like what I wanted to do, and I actually based it all around food.
Oh, okay.
Um so I think I've just always loved having food as my subject because um I just think that like for my family, and just like in Chinese culture, like food is such a big part of it. And it's
Mhm.
just when everyone gets together and like, so I just have so many like photos and like different memories relating to food. So I just feel like it's always been like a good, like fond subject that I've had.
No, yeah, and I think it's cool. Obviously, like you have food itself as like the thing that you eat, but then like you were mentioning how the things that are kind of connected to food, like food is like a time when you're connected with your family or friends, and that you kind of remember like the times that you shared with people over food. So I think that
Yeah,
is kind of a cool
exactly.
thing to have as like kind of like a core interest, and then you can obviously branch out so much from it. And then
Yeah.
in terms of food, like what would be some of like your favorite dishes, just like yeah, in general?
Ooh, my favorite dishes? That's hard. I feel like
That's always a tough
I've
question.
um, let me think. I feel like I've been loving like oh my God, I'm trying to think. I like in terms of just like the food itself, like the taste of it, or like how it looks.
Oh, I mean, we can do both actually. Yeah, what's like the most like appealing looking food, and then the
Okay,
food that you just
okay.
like enjoy eating.
Okay, maybe I'm like thinking too much into this, but so I feel like subject wise, I really love like dim sum because one
So,
of my pieces, or like multiple of like my previous paintings have been like about dim sum. Um, and I just feel like it's been such a big part of like me and my family's like, you know, time to like get together and stuff on like a weekend.
Hmm.
So I just feel like that has always been like my favorite subject. And the food is also very good.
Right,
Um, and I guess my specific one from that is like the shrimp dumplings. Those ones are my favorite.
right. Hmm.
And my favorite food, ooh, recent or I've been eating like a lot of sushi.
Okay.
So I guess
And what's the
that's
favorite? What's the go-to role?
ooh, I always like the Alaskan roll because I love avocado and salmon
Okay, so it's like so what is it? Avocado, salmon. What else is in there? Is
and
it
just like a rice, like
rice? Okay.
rice around it and like
Yeah.
seaweed. It's just the American style sushi, but I really like
Okay.
it.
Okay, no, that's valid. Yeah, I mean, I whenever I go to a sushi restaurant, I'm like, I just know I like sushi. I never remember what's on like the roll. It's like if it has like salmon or like spicy tuna, I like it.
You just
But
eat it
I
all.
kind of I kind of get lost in all the details because there's so
Oh
many like
yeah.
variations, like spicy dragon roll, all that stuff. I'm like, all
Hmm.
right. But
Have you been to the all you can eat place in Boston? I remember there was
Boston.
like yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah. I went there for my birthday, actually
Oh
senior
really?
year. I went there with Aaron, and
Oh,
he was feeling really ambitious that day, and
oh
he's
my
like, yeah,
God.
let's order all the sushi. But you know, like if you don't finish all the sushi, you have to pay. So like
Hmm.
at the end of it, I'm like, yo, I'm actually like stuffed to the point where I'm like, I'm gonna be sick. So, uh, so I actually like started putting some in like a napkin and put it in my pants, and then went to the bathroom because I'm like, bro, I'm not about to pay extra, but I'm like, I'm sorry, I just can't.
Flushed
We
it?
ordered way too much. Like for the two of us, like the amount of sushi we
Hmm.
ordered was just
Oh
too
my
much.
God.
But yeah,
That's
nah, I forget the name of that spot, but yeah, it's really good though.
yeah.
Definitely go back next time I'm
I
in
think
that. Yeah.
I think the same thing happened with like me and Dustin, my boyfriend.
Right. Yeah.
And he like I think it was like a barbecue place. He like put a bunch in the napkin and like went to the bathroom and like flushed it. It was like
Yeah.
this big and it didn't
Oh
even
my gosh.
it didn't even clog, but I guess it's okay.
Oh nah, but hey, that's the best strat. You know,
Yeah.
you save some money,
Yeah.
but no, yeah, no, that's dope though. And then yeah, and then kind of thinking back to, you know, you were saying like in high school that food is kind of the subject of your arts, but I want to kind of go even farther back to like a very young Jacqueline, the tomato, even okay, a little bit after the tomato phase, but like what was kind of like your introduction into, I guess, like just kind of like the world of creativity and art, like what kind of yeah got you into being an artist, like from a very young age.
My parents have always like enrolled me in like a lot of different classes. Like we did,
Mhm.
or I did like swimming or like piano, just all these random things just to see what I liked. And like something that I always did was like draw on like furniture or like I would be sneaky about it. So like they wouldn't know until later, but like there would be like so many drawings like under the table.
What?
Um,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, I was a naughty kid, but yeah, like
Like
I
a
would
good naughty. That's like a good naughty though. It's like
yeah, yeah. It's like it's kind of I was just trying to send a message, you know.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think after that they're like, "Oh, I think she wants to draw instead."
Yeah,
So
she might
since
like drawing a little bit, maybe. She's
yeah,
drawing under the
maybe.
table.
So yeah, since then I like used to watch like YouTube videos and like follow random tutorials and I ended up
Mm.
taking like lessons. So I feel like that's always been like my favorite subject.
Drawing, you would say out of like you mean like drawing specifically out of like the different mediums?
Hmm.
I got you. And then yeah.
Or I guess painting. I went
Painting,
into
right, yeah.
painting like later, but yeah.
Mhm. Okay. But yeah, the painting pipeline obviously is pretty strong.
Hmm. Yep. Yep.
Um, but yeah, and then also, did you have like any kind of like favorite artists growing up, or yeah, I guess just like creators? Because I mean, I guess at that point we were too young to like be on like social media, but but yeah, so like I guess in terms of like yeah, were there like any of like kind of like the more classic artists that you were a fan of, or yeah, what did that kind of look like for you in terms of like your influences or inspirations?
Hmm. Ooh, I feel like a lot of different artists inspired me. Like I feel like at that age, like I didn't really know whose work I was looking at, but like
Yeah.
I loved like going to museums and my favorite was like the oil painting sections.
Mhm.
But I guess like once I started to understand like more of the famous artists, I think Van Gogh was definitely my favorite because
Mhm.
I just loved like the textures that he created in his pieces and like the colors. So I think I took some influence from that like in my later pieces like in high
Mhm.
school. But yeah, the that for sure like stood out for me.
Okay, got you, got you. And then, Do you feel like your like Chinese culture at all influenced like how you made art, or do you feel like just obviously being in like, the West and being in California, like do you feel like that kind of just like your environment more so influenced it?
Yeah, I feel like I was fortunate that I grew up around a lot of like Chinese people, or like I
Mhm.
was kind of I guess I have more, or like I was exposed to a lot of like Chinese culture
Right.
where I grew up. And my art teacher was actually Chinese as well,
Oh,
so she taught me a lot about like different like Chinese mediums and like artists. We looked at a lot of like different artists for inspiration. And yeah, and I feel like later on when I was like doing my portfolio pieces, I was also basing that off of like my, or like my Chinese culture, and also like um just like my experience with my family. So obviously like I talked about food a lot, so I feel like food was kind of like a big part of that. And like I was trying to be more intentional about the types of food that I was showing, and like what I was
mhm.
referencing, and like the exact memories or moments that I had, and just use images from that to like use as reference.
Okay. No, that's super cool to hear that you were able to kind of grow up in an area with, people of similar culture, leading into, your kind of creative journey from elementary school through high school and then your AP, like your AP portfolio. What would you say was like a piece in your portfolio that you were most proud of that helped you get the top score of a five?
I think my favorite piece was um the biggest one that I had, which was the one with like fish and like the salad dishes on there. I think that
Hmm.
was the piece where I started to play with my, or like play with the subject in my paintings the most, because I was like so worried about following what was in the picture the whole time in the beginning when I first started out. But my teacher encouraged me to kind of push myself to like explore different things I could incorporate into the painting. So I was
Hmm.
incorporating like different like fishes in there and like having them float around. I feel like looking back at it now, I don't know if it's kind of messed up that like it was like a seafood salad, and I also had like fish like swimming above it. Like I don't know, I don't know
Oh,
what.
so it's some sort of like different sort of metaphor here that you were low key, low key. I mean, hey, but I guess it's up to us as the audience to interpret what we see in that. But
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
yeah. But no, yeah, that I think that's awesome that you're like your teacher pushed you to kind of, break away from just like, looking at like just kind of recreating something from reference exactly as you see it, because I think there's obviously just so much more that you can tap into when you're kind of just use your own perspective and kind of manipulate things that are different from what exactly
Mhm.
you're saying. That's something I personally am trying to, I think, work on as an artist, is just like because I'm just so used to drawing things from reference and kind of like
Yeah.
replicating things, but kind of like just shifting to kind of seeing something you can use as reference, but then obviously shifting things within it
Hmm.
to kind of achieve whatever piece you're trying to achieve. But
Yeah,
um,
definitely.
yeah. And then in terms of like your portfolio, like how I guess like how confident did it make you kind of like when you were looking at different schools to apply to? Yeah, when I was because obviously when you're applying for art school, you need to, or maybe people that haven't applied to art school wouldn't know, but yeah, when
Mhm.
you're applying to art school, you need to have like a portfolio of work to show the different schools. So yeah, how like confident did you feel going into that whole process, having this really strong portfolio that you made?
I think it made me feel more confident that I had like a portfolio that I knew that I pushed myself in. And like I knew when looking at schools I wanted to go to a school that valued art, and like there was, like a small program for that. I feel like, to be honest, like I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to get into. I think it was a last minute decision for me to decide, or a last minute decision for me to go into like the visual arts. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I think this whole time I was like, oh yeah, focusing on what would make the most money, or like what is the more traditional path. But I think senior year or like junior year, I started realizing that, if I'm enjoying this, or I feel like there's so much more for me to explore in this field, that it wouldn't hurt to, give it a chance and like submit my portfolio for these schools.
Yeah, no, honestly, now that you said that, I was in like the same boat, like junior year, in terms of thinking about like what to go into, because, and obviously, especially, having the influence of the parents, like my parents were like, oh, you should do like computer science. And I was like,
Yeah.
I mean, like, so I took like AP computer science in
Ooh.
school, didn't do too hot on the AP exam. So I was like, you know what? I think, that in combination of also like I was fortunate enough to take like graphic design classes in my high school, and just had the feeling like, yeah, I know this is like what I want to pursue, like in college and everything. But
Mhm.
yeah, in terms of like colleges you're looking at, like since you said I guess you didn't exactly know what you wanted to do initially, like were you specifically looking at schools with like a with a college of fine arts, or like looking for schools that were specifically only like like a Savannah,
Mhm.
like a SCAD, like Savannah College of Art and Design, or were you looking for a school that had like an art program within like a larger university? What was kind of like your how were you kind of looking at different schools at that time?
Yeah, I think my main like my main priority when looking at schools was to find like a smaller school within like a larger school just so
Right.
I can keep my options open and if I end up deciding to switch, which I didn't, I
Mm.
would have the option to and I can take different classes and like fields I'm interested in. And I never actually applied to any art schools. I kind of like at the time I almost did, but then I wasn't so sure about what direction I wanted to head in yet. So I was like, oh, I feel like if I did an art school that's like 100% like, I would
You're
have
in.
to. I didn't have like a clear idea on like what I wanted to do. So it was just, I just wanted to just choose whatever schools had whatever programs that I was like kind of interested in and figured it out from there.
Okay, got you. And then what were some of like the school, or were you someone that applied to like a lot of schools? Because I know like I remember like somebody in my school applied to like 20. I was like, geez, I mean, I know you want to keep your options open, but I think I applied to like, yeah, I applied to 8, which I mean, I guess that's like
Mm,
8 to 10. I feel like is like a good amount, right? But yeah,
yeah.
like what were some of the other schools you were considering?
Oh my God, I don't even know.
I
I
know it's
feel
like a
like
throwback, right? You gotta like,
I know. On my TikTok, I've been seeing a lot of like college admission videos
oh
and
yeah,
like
all the college this stuff, yeah, because yeah, it's that time, so
yeah. Um, I think the main schools I was focusing on were like UCs, which is
yeah,
a very
California, yeah, that makes sense.
Californian thing to do. So I
Yeah.
would say that's the majority of my applications. Like I just mainly applied to California schools, and I think that was my main choice at first. Um, just so I can still be in the area, maybe like some schools in SoCal. And I didn't get into like the ones in SoCal that I was interested in, so I was like, okay,
Mm,
like I also applied to like other schools like out of state. And I did visit the East Coast for the first time with my parents, and like I didn't really like the East Coast that much, but I only
yeah.
liked Boston.
Oh,
And so I
really?
feel like that was perfect because yeah, I like applied to like schools in Boston that seemed like something I would be interested in. But to be honest, I honestly I did a bad job like researching a lot of this stuff. So I think like yeah, a lesson for my younger self is to do more research into like their programs.
Yeah.
I was just like so set on like UCs just because I already
I mean,
attended a lot of yeah, like I feel like they told us a lot of stuff in high school, so but I'm glad how things turned out.
okay. And then what kind of like ultimately led you to choose BU over like any of the UC schools you got into, or like other schools you applied to out of state?
Yeah, I feel like BU, like, I just loved how small and like tight knit like the College of Fine Arts community was, and like,
Yeah.
I and it was it was exactly how I wanted my experience to be like, um, and like just like from our experience, like we all know each other, we're all friends, and like we had like a lot of fun like working in the studios and stuff. So I feel like that was kind of what I was imagining when I was like deciding what school to pick. Because I almost went into like game design, which is really random.
Oh, really?
That was the other
Oh,
thing I was deciding against. This was for UC Santa Cruz because I knew that their game design program was pretty it was a good program, but I think like ultimately I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to like stick in this specific area. So
right.
I just thought, maybe like visual arts in general would be a better pick for me.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, game design is like you're already kind of niched down, and then you wouldn't have the
Yeah.
opportunity to explore other things in design. And I feel like you're someone that explore kind of has like explored like every aspect of design. So like I was looking at the resume, I'm like, oh, you did UI, UX, obviously you done like editorial, like you do illustration, like branding, like so. I guess like even just thinking about all like the various types of like visual arts classes we were able to take at BU,
Hmm.
which one or if there were multiple, do you feel like were kind of most constructive to like kind of like your career path? Out of like all the different classes. Even like foundation, you could also even include foundation classes if you feel like they had a big impact.
Ooh, I like that question because I think I was trying to think about this a while back too, but definitely like all of them played such a big role. Like, I know like our main like graphic design classes, they taught us how to think about design, which is like obviously so important when it comes to like any
Hmm.
form of visual arts or just design in general. But I think my favorite class was editorial, just because
That's right.
yeah, like I think for the longest time I didn't really have a clear system on like how to organize my work like visually, and like I didn't really think too much about hierarchy, and I was just like I don't know, just going in blind. Like I had no
Hmm.
idea what I was doing, like maybe using YouTube tutorials, but I think
Yeah.
after that I like learned more about different technical skills, and like I discovered my love for InDesign. So yeah, I
Oh
feel like
wow. InDesign
yeah,
member.
yeah, I know.
Hey, here we go. Oh yeah, no, I think I wish I had taken that editorial class because literally everyone I like talked to, like all, like yeah, everyone I've talked to seemed like they really loved that class and
Mhm.
just like just in terms of just like the what you learn, especially when you're talking about like hierarchy and how to organize information, because
Yeah.
obviously that's like a humongous part of design. And it doesn't
Mhm.
really matter like whatever type of design you're doing. Like
Mhm.
you, a lot of times you're gonna have to be able to take information and be able to display it in a way where it's like the audience can easily kind of see what you're trying to show them. So
Mhm.
yeah, and then that was, I mean, that's the class you ended up winning the award in, right, with the publication
Mhm.
designer. Is that yeah? So obviously you were very good at it. So that's awesome. And then thinking to kind of like some of your other like school experience, you mentioned how you studied abroad in Venice. So
Mhm.
how was could you talk a little bit more about like that experience? Because I mean, I didn't study
Yeah.
abroad, and I was like, Loki, I was like, should I was like, I don't know. It seemed like it was like a good time, but yeah. So I guess like what was like the study abroad experience like, and would you like do it again if you would you do it like the same way? If you were going back to school again, or yeah, just kind of talk about that experience.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a very intimidating experience at first because I've never like lived outside of the country for like that amount of
Hmm.
time. Like 3 months is like a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think after a while, like I eventually learned more about, or sorry, let me start over. But I really loved the graphic design class that they had there. I think that was definitely one of my most formative like design, like I guess design experience in college because our professor,
Hmm.
he was very, I think like he really pushed us a lot, and it was not easy to like impress him. So I feel like it encouraged me and like the whole class to really think about what message we're trying to send with our work and how to clean things up, make it look more professional. And he gave us like really cool projects like designing a branding system for like an art exhibition. So I feel like
Mm.
things like that, like the deadlines were really like short. So I remember we
Wow.
would all like stress about that so much, but I think that pushed
Mm.
us a lot. Um, and I feel like the people in Venice, it was very interesting because um like there were so many different characters there, and I feel like it just made like me and like a lot of, the other people studying abroad to be more brave and ex explore new things and like interact with people. Um and yeah, like what else was it like? I mean, it was kind of an interesting experience too because this was like around when COVID just started to
Yeah, exactly. This is
like,
2021, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Like right
So
after, I guess it was kind of starting
yeah.
to move off a bit. Yeah.
It was an awkward time, but we
Yeah.
had like green badges and stuff, and we'd have to like scan it and
Oh
like
yeah,
get
the green.
tested
Oh
every
my
day.
gosh, that's a throwback to the
It
green
was,
badges.
yep. So yeah, it was
Gosh.
a weird time, but I think we made the most of it. And yeah, I feel like I made like really close friends. Like, I mean, me, Hannah, Mina, Joanna, were all in like one apartment together.
Mm.
So I feel like
Oh
that,
yeah.
it was a really fun experience and like a bonding experience.
No, yeah, I imagine. I mean, obviously being in a different country, kind of having to figure stuff out on the fly,
Mhm.
and all those kind of things. But yeah, that definitely sounds like you had a great formative experience. So, I mean, hey, who knows? Maybe I'll do like some sort of grad program,
Yeah,
study abroad.
no,
But
you
yeah, I
should.
feel just like yeah, going to like a different environment and also like trying to learn or being in like an educational setting, I think is definitely a unique experience.
Hmm.
And so I'm glad that you were able to, take advantage of that
Yeah.
and be in Venice for the that semester. But no, yeah, that's dope. And then in terms of like experiences outside of the classroom, you did quite a few internships in undergrad, right? So I guess like what would you say was like your favorite internship experience, and how do you feel like it's kind of like impacted your career trajectory as well as like what we talked about with the like undergrad classes?
I would say my most impactful internship
Right.
experience was with Just Fab. That was my very first like official like intern experience. Like I was actually in the
Mhm.
office for the first time.
Okay.
I met other interns and like I feel like it was a really big growing experience for me because I've never been in a professional setting like that before. So I had to figure out like, oh, like how should I dress? How should I present myself to my
Mhm.
coworkers? And I did a lot of like one-on-ones with people to learn about their role and like figure out what I would be interested in the future. And I think another big thing that I learned was how to keep things consistent for branding because we had a big rebrand during that time, or it was like or I guess they called it a micro or some
Mini rebrand,
brand
something like that.
refresh. Yeah,
A brand refresh, yeah, just a
yeah, yeah,
little.
yeah, something like that. So I had to adapt to that and like keep things consistent, and I just learned how important it was for brands or just like companies in general to like stay in line with their branding. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay. And now, what type of like company was Just Fab like, or what? Um, yeah,
Oh
I guess
yeah.
like what industry were they in
They
specific?
it was a fashion company, like
Oh,
it was like a
fashion. Okay.
brand under textile, which they have brands like Fabletics or like Yitty,
Okay, okay.
Savage.
Hmm.
Just Fab was one of their smaller brands, but it was
Hmm.
mostly like e-commerce stuff.
Oh, okay.
So it
Cool.
was pretty interesting, like seeing how people work together and just like seeing the other brands.
Yeah, no, especially I feel like getting even just that first, because being in the office, because I feel like design's obviously something where like we're used to, well, obviously you can do it in the collaborative space in the studio, but obviously a
Hmm.
lot of work you can do from home, but having to kind of go in
Hmm.
that office every day and how
Yep.
to just learning how to be like a working professional, I think definitely sounds like a great thing you were able to
Yeah.
take away from that. But no, yeah, that's awesome. And then kind of going back to the classroom and just kind of wrapping up things with the undergrad experience.
Hmm.
Would you say like, or I guess, did you have like any sort of mentors throughout undergrad, or were there any professors you feel like that kind of had like a big impact on you? Yeah, while you were at BU.
Ooh, I feel like, well, I think starting out like freshman year, um, my favorite class was painting, and
Yeah,
oh yeah,
Richard.
Richard, we were in the same class. We
Yeah,
had,
we literally had every class together
yeah,
like
we had
freshman.
every class
Crazy.
together.
Yeah,
But yeah, painting was my favorite class. I don't know if
sure.
you've felt the
Yeah,
same.
I mean, honestly, I was gonna say going back to like the question about like most valuable classes, low key painting, just like
Hmm.
what we learned about like color and value translates so well to like the digital space of design. I feel like it
Exactly.
improved my ability to just like formulate
Hmm.
things in like Illustrator and create color palettes a lot better, understanding
Yeah,
the color stuff specifically. But yeah,
yeah.
definitely I love painting. Yeah.
I remember how like he would say how like buttery all the paint
Or like how
was.
tasty the paint. Yeah,
Yeah,
the paint looks kind of yummy.
I know. I was like, ooh, like
No,
it
yeah, I
felt
remember.
hungry enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, that for sure was like one of my favorite classes, and like I learned so much from Richard. He definitely set the foundation for us like when it came to design. And at that time I didn't even know I wanted to do design, but I
Mhm.
think like just like composition and everything. Um and another professor I would say is James. I feel like I loved like hearing feedback from him, and he always like pushed me and like all of our classmates on like how to, improve our work. And um I also like worked with him like later on like after graduation, so I feel like even after
Mhm.
college I was still learning from him and just seeing how to work with like clients and um yeah, just like designing within like different spaces like Figma, Illustrator, Photoshop, just like connecting all of them together.
Okay. No, yeah, no, it's awesome that I mean, obviously you're able to have these professors kind of pour into you a little bit in terms of just like even helping you even discover more so your passion for design and
Mhm.
even like postgrad like you were saying with James getting to work on some projects and kind of see what it's like to work with like a kind of like more of like a freelance type of basis and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah. And then in terms of just like undergrad experience overall, what would you say were like some of the more challenging aspects of just being like a visual arts like graphic design major at BU?
Ooh. Do you mean like just like taking the classes or
Or it could be relating to like overall. Honestly, it could be relating to overall like undergrad experience, or but like specific or like just specifically within like the design major.
hmm. Ooh, I guess like specifically within our major, like I feel like um underestimating like how long a project will take. Like we
Oh
pulled
yeah,
so many
very familiar
all-nighters.
with that challenge. Yeah.
Yep, I saw you guys had like a little sleeping bag. Well, yeah,
Oh.
I used the sleeping bag.
Yeah, there's a few sleepovers in the studio, not gonna lie.
That was so fun and like well, it was like stressful but also like fun.
Yeah.
Um And like I remember like when I think it wasn't an all-nighter, but everyone stayed up pretty late doing a painting project, like the self-portrait thing.
Hmm.
And like I remember we would like play movies on the
Yeah,
screen.
in the background, yeah, we're watching like Disney movies
Mhm.
and vibing out while we're like,
Yeah.
you
I guess that wasn't the most challenging part because like I feel like because we're all together and like there's a community, it made it much
Mhm.
more tolerable. Um,
Yeah.
but I guess another challenge would be to kind of stand up for like our major because I feel like a lot of people didn't fully understand the importance of graphic design or like what we even did. So I feel
Mhm.
like I've encountered a lot of people who kind of like not I wouldn't say look down, but it was just kind of like I feel like they didn't fully grasp what we did and like there was a lot of doubt surrounding that. So I feel like yeah, another challenge was to just face that and also be able to explain or yeah, kind of like stand up for, the importance of
Or
design.
like you like kind of validate what we're
Yeah,
doing as designers. Yeah,
yeah.
no, I totally get that because it's like because when people think about this, I mean, these guys are just like making random doodles, whatever. But I would say like I had like one of my friends who's like a neuroscience major,
Mhm.
and she like pulled up to the studio one time, and then she told me like after going to the studio and seeing like how hard we were working, she's like it completely changed her perspective on like us as designers because like she kind
Yeah,
of thought the same thing that we're just kind of like dibble dabbling or just like making fun little stuff in Photoshop whatever. But I think people don't realize like the amount of just like brain power and thought that kind of has to go into making projects and the intentionality that kind of has to go behind it and us
yeah.
having to kind of like validate yeah what we're doing is important. And I think like
Mhm.
when you look around now like you can clearly see that like design is literally in every aspect of like everything. So
Yeah,
we definitely are very important, to helping things run in this world, and it's I think yeah, it's definitely a privilege to be able to be a part of it and express our creative abilities in
mhm,
that way.
for
But
sure.
yeah, and then I guess last thing would be for undergrad, what would you say were like the project or projects you were most proud of out of your undergrad experience?
Ooh, let me think. Um, I guess one of the projects I'm proud of. is the I guess like the ketchup self-portrait. I feel like it took me a while to like get to that point, like to like come up with that concept.
Hmm.
So I feel like that was when I started like pushing myself to explore other mediums outside of like just Adobe products. Um, so yeah, I think that is like it definitely highlights when I started transitioning into like different things I can use within my work and like just seeing graphic design not as a digital um or not seeing design only in a digital space, but
Hmm.
in like a physical space and just like in everyday things as well. Um but yeah, I think that and also my thesis would be one of my favorites, I guess, because
Yeah.
I think um that was the most I was able to experiment as well, and just taking my previous project experiences and pulling it all into one thing.
Yeah,
I
one
feel like
big
was
thick book.
yeah, yeah, that I feel like making the book was really fun for me, but it was so
Yeah.
stressful and like finding like when to print it and everything. That was I don't know. I
Yeah.
think I blocked it out of my mind, but I'm glad we got through it.
Yeah, that was a time thesis. It
Hmm.
was a grind, but it was well worth it seeing obviously the final product and everything that came out of it. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's crazy now I'm thinking about it, like it's really almost been 2 years
I
since we
know.
graduated. But like kind of thinking back to that time like post grad, like what were you like kind of what was like your intention in terms of like what kind of jobs you wanted to apply to, like in terms of like niche, I guess, because obviously you're someone that was kind of like in a lot of different areas of design. So what I guess like was kind of like your top ideas of like what you wanted to get into after graduating?
I think I always imagined myself in like a tech company. I think just because,
Really?
yeah,
Oh,
I maybe it's just because I grew up in the Bay Area and like
yeah, yeah,
my dad works in tech and like
yeah.
I've seen that so often. So I always imagined that as like the typical, corporate work experience.
Hmm.
And yeah, I'm glad I like opened my options up and just like decided to look into a bunch of other things because there's so many different opportunities in design.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm still going to keep trying different things, but um,
Hmm.
yeah, no, I've been liking all the different design fields so far.
Okay, got you. And then in terms of just like landing your job with the Chargers, right? How what was it like really like persevering through that time of like the job search? Because like honestly, it was because it was like I guess like a year, like pretty much a
Oh
year
yeah,
after graduating, right? So a
yeah.
lot of people to graduate, they want to be working, within like the first couple of months, but
Mhm.
like especially now, I mean, the job market's pretty tough, right? So like, what was it like just kind of like having to go through that process of like you're sending in applications, you're writing cover letters, like what was that like for you, kind of until you landed with the job you have now?
It was definitely disheartening.
Hmm.
And yeah, I just like felt like a lot of the things I sent out wasn't even going to be opened.
Hmm.
So I'm sure like everyone or like a lot of people has felt this as well. But yeah, I just, wanted to set a goal for myself to like apply to a certain amount each week. But it was definitely hard because it's just hard seeing things not being responded to, like not even like a rejection
Yeah.
email. Um, I was like
Yeah.
never hearing anything. But I think because of that, it opened me up to different opportunities, like opportunities I wouldn't even have considered, like
Mm.
continuing to do like another internship after graduation or doing freelance. I feel
Right.
like because of those experiences, I was able to use that in my resume and like further like maybe add a little more content to my resume that
Mhm.
companies would be more interested in. So
Yeah. Okay. No, I think that's great how you're kind of able to just kind of take the best out of the situation because it is pretty disheartening because it's like you're capable and
yeah,
then you're just sending stuff out. It's like, dang, you're just gonna leave me
yeah, they didn't even
on
want
like
to talk to us. Like,
delivered, read, whatever it is, not gonna respond. So yeah,
yeah,
it's definitely is a grind just trying to land. And then it's another thing too to like even get an interview and then if
yep.
that job is actually even going to be like the right fit for you. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, definitely, it's cool that you were also kind of, staying open-minded with
Mhm.
what type of job you want to do. Because like for me, for instance, like I feel like I've always been on this track. Like I'm sure as you obviously like having
Mhm.
gone to school with me, like oh yeah, like a lot of my stuff is obviously like sports related. Like
Yeah.
since I was a little kid, I'm like I feel like I gotta work in sports, right? So.
Mhm.
That was kind of like most of the jobs I was applying to. But even at a certain point, I'm like, all right, let me start widening the field a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
let me start looking at, let me maybe we working in fashion, like whatever, I don't know, like marketing, ad, whatever, just to like see what else is out there. But yeah, I think it is always good to, especially in this type of field, to keep an open mind. But yeah, did you ever like see yourself working in sports, or was it just kind of like, hey, we'll try it out?
No, yeah, I never expected that. And I just feel like sports graphics I've always like really admired because, you see like all those hype graphics and like how
Yeah.
detailed they are. Um, so I've always seen it, but I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do that.
Hmm.
Like I feel like I wasn't like Photoshop wasn't really my strength either.
Hmm.
And yeah, I feel like honestly, it was like just me applying to a bunch of stuff and like the job seemed cool and I was like, "Oh, like that could be cool. Like I could see myself doing that." Like I'm, never say no to like these different things. So I'm glad it worked out because if it weren't for that, I wouldn't even have been like, watching sports or like now I'm
Yeah.
a Chargers fan, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah. Bolt up, right? Bolt up. That's what you guys said. Okay, yeah. No, that's dope. And then, I mean, what's kind of been, I guess the biggest adjustment to like, having like this would be the first full-time job, right? Because I guess the
Hmm.
other ones were internship. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess like, what's been like the biggest adjustment, like just having like a full-time job now?
I would say like I feel like with internships, right, or like freelancing, there's like a clear end to like when things will end.
Hmm.
So I think working full time, I was never like I was never familiar with the concept of like I can work around the same people like for so long for like months or years. Like
Hmm.
that idea was so crazy to me because I've never experienced that before. But yeah, no, I feel like it's been really nice though because this is like the longest I've been in one role before, so I think I've been, getting closer with my coworkers and like, we're all familiar with each other and like learning from each other. So, yeah, I'm glad that I'm able to, be in this position where I'm able to like continuously like get to know people and also like grow professionally and like learn more design skills. Like, yeah, I'm really thankful.
I don't know. Yeah, no, that's dope. Especially, I feel like the aspect of just getting closer with your coworkers and obviously, there is. I mean, you have been watching Severance. Obviously,
Oh
there's like that
yeah.
separation of work and then home. But I think it is cool when
Mhm.
you can have a little bit of a mix in there where it's like you're cool with your coworkers and then you can even hang out with them outside of work
Yeah.
and everything. But yeah, what's like your day to day like with the charges, like when you come in, what do you do, and then like yeah, as you go throughout the day.
Yeah, I feel like it changes a lot depending on what time of year it is.
Right, like
But
in season versus out of season,
yeah,
right?
yeah, I feel like in season is a lot more chaotic. Like my role specifically, I'm more of like a partnership designer because they brought me
Mm-hmm.
on because they needed someone to help design like their pitch decks and like, come up with different structures for their presentations. But I'm also on the creative team, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
also doing other tasks like doing social posts, helping out with like stadium graphics or other ads that they need help with,
Mm-hmm.
doing logo stuff. So it's just been a bunch of random projects on the side. And yeah, I would say my day to day right now would be, I guess, like working on the occasional like pitch deck that I would have to work on. That would take up like, a good amount of time in the day. And then I would also work on different creative graphics. Um,
Mm-hmm.
recently, I've been working, or I don't know if I should say, or I'll just like, yeah, I've been working on
Yeah, you
like,
can. Yeah, yeah.
like I've been working on my more creative graphics lately,
Okay.
um, which has been cool. I work a lot in like Illustrator. I
Oh,
did
okay.
some drawings before to like bring into that. Just a
Hey,
lot
there we
of
go.
different projects. But yeah, I feel like I'm really fortunate to have a manager that is open to like different people in the team doing things outside of what they typically do, and like
Mm-hmm.
as long as we show interest in like other projects, like he'll keep us in mind and like assign it to us or
Mm-hmm.
it's very open and we can do a lot of different things, so
Yeah.
it's been really fun.
No, that's dope. Because even like as someone that's been kind of following like a lot of like just the NFL social media teams, like the
Mm-hmm.
Chargers are easily like, I mean, I'm sure as you can probably just tell being there now, like
Mm-hmm.
they're up there in terms of like the best social media teams, even just from like kind of like the not that they're like unserious, but obviously
Mm-hmm.
like they post a lot of like funny content,
Yeah.
but then not even beyond like the type of content, just like the quality of content, like the kind of like the system that you guys have for your graphics is like the image
Mm-hmm.
treatment. To me at least is super dope, and I mean I'm also a little biased. I love like blue is my favorite color, so like
Yeah.
the Chargers blue obviously is a really nice color to work with. I mean, even me now, I mean, I'm with Columbia, so I get to work with Columbia football, so I get to work with blue as well, which is
Mm-hmm.
a lot of fun. But yeah, is there anything about the job that you'd say like kind of like surprised you when you as you've like been in it?
I would say what surprised me the most was how everyone works together so often, like or like
Mm,
throughout like different departments and different teams. Like we see the same people all the time, and it's a pretty small company, so everyone knows each other. You can kind of, you know, you always happen to work with like a lot of different people, especially when you're in the design team. So yeah, I feel like that's a really cool opportunity because it always keeps things interesting and like
mm.
there's always like new projects to work on. And I never expected to be able to work on so many different things and like work with so many different people.
Okay, yeah, no, definitely. It's like there's gonna be a lot of interaction because like everyone kind of needs each other to
Yeah,
accomplish.
definitely.
Because it's almost like as if like you're the actual football team, where everything kind of has to work together to
Yeah.
accomplish the goal. But yeah, on the team, I mean, do you have like a favorite like Chargers player now, or I don't know
Ooh.
if that'll stir the pot a little bit. I don't know.
Ooh, I think right now I would say Derwin. Just
No
I
way,
I feel like
really?
oh I
I'm not
don't
no way, but I was just saying that's he's also my he's
oh
also my
really?
yeah. I've been following him since like he was at Florida
Oh
State.
no way.
This is I don't know. For me, like I like players that are just like they like swaggy. They're cool.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. No, he's
he
really
just seems like he
cool.
has a cool vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, he does. Like I
Yeah.
like sometimes I see him and I'm like, whoa, he's like so cool. But like he's
No,
got
yeah.
the aura, you know?
No,
Uh,
yeah, he's got the aura. Yeah, no, and
yeah,
obviously he's also a really great player on top of
yeah.
that. Yeah.
And he's always
Yeah.
like really like I don't know, I feel like he's very personable and then um
Mm-hmm.
I also feel like Lad is also like I
A
love
lot of
watching
yeah.
him play. And
Yeah.
he also seems pretty cool. Um but yeah, like I just feel like everyone's cool.
Cool,
Yeah,
yeah, cool vibes. Yeah. No, for
yeah,
me. Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm an Eagles fan, so the
yeah.
Eagles players would be always be like my favorite. But
Yeah.
Derwin and Justin Herbert are two of my like players on like I would say on like a different team that I really like for
Oh,
whatever reason. I don't know,
really?
just like seem like cool guys. They play
Hmm.
good football, so yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean that's kind of all the questions I had in terms of like just kind of looking at your creative
Mhm.
journey as a whole. And then yeah, I didn't really come up with any fun questions, I guess. But or actually, no, wait. Here's one. Here's one. Now that you've watched a little bit of football,
Okay, okay.
what position do you think you would play if they
Oh,
had to call you? If the Chargers like, yo, we need somebody like who like what position are you hopping in at?
I actually was asked this recently too,
Oh,
but I still don't really.
yeah.
Whatever, receiver, right? Receiver,
Yeah,
wide.
yeah, you're gonna, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So you're
I
gonna do
just
what Lad does. You're gonna catch the
yeah.
pass. And
Yeah,
yeah,
I just want to catch the ball and like maybe do a touchdown. But if I was on the field, I don't even think I would like be able to make it with a second. I think I would die on the field.
oh no, trust me, I would die too, Jack. Like, bro, you seen Derwin? Like, you think I'm gonna get hit by somebody like Derwin James? No, thank you. I'll pass on
Like
that. No.
they're like filming it on like national TV. They're like, ooh, okay, let's like clean that off real
Yeah,
quick.
yeah. So cut the cameras. That's a bad sight. But okay, yeah, wide receiver. I could
Yeah,
see you
yeah.
at
Oh,
wide
really?
receiver.
What
Yeah,
about
no.
you?
No, I mean, I think for me it had to be. I don't know. It's tough at my size. It's maybe running back. Just I mean, I played running back
Oh,
in high
okay.
school, so I think I just
Mm,
had to go with that. Can't say
yeah,
I'm the best pass catcher, so yeah, running back. Yeah, maybe just hopefully the line blocks enough so I can, get somewhere and not get
yeah.
hit.
You can
Yeah,
like go under and like surprise them.
yeah. So
I think they'll get them. I think you'll like be in their heads.
Yeah, no, no. I mean, there's been a couple players that are like obviously on the smaller side that just
Mhm.
because they're like small, it's like you can't really see them. So when they get out, they're like, oh shoot, they're oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
no, that'll be us.
yeah, that'll be it. Yeah, we'll be like no, we'll be like the running back duo. Just
Mhm.
yeah, but no, no. Okay, okay, but yeah. I mean, that's kind of all that I have. So definitely want to thank you again. For taking the time to do this interview. And then before we go, I mean, do you want to plug any socials or anything like that?
Oh
Yeah, gotta.
yeah. So my YouTube is Jack Mango. I do some YouTube shorts now.
No, yeah, the YouTube guys. I'm telling you, look, like I said, go to a different tab, type in Jacqueline Mang, Jack Mango, or YouTube shorts. They're popping off. So
Mhm.
go show some support.
Thank you.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, and then yeah, to the audience, I mean, appreciate y'all for pulling up to Psosi Studio. Obviously, it's pretty blank right now. I'm in a kind of a new apartment, and everything. Hopefully, we'll get some artwork and stuff up on the walls eventually. But yeah, yeah, that'll be it. I know, yeah, I gotta go my outro, right? But
Okay.
yeah,
Feel like an
you yeah, it's cause
transition.
but yeah, definitely, much love, Ate Sway, and remember to stay fresh and stay further.
Yay.